welcome to episode 157 of the True Crime All the Time Unsolved podcast. I'm Mike Ferguson, and with me as always is my partner in true crime, Mike Gibson. Gibby, how are you?
Hey man, I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good, and I think you and I both are. We talked about it on TCAT, considering everything that's going on in the world. And we're trying to stay safe. We're trying to self-quarantine. We're doing all the things that they're telling us to do.
Yeah.
And we hope, our listeners are doing that, and we hope they're staying as safe as well.
That's all you can do out there, man.
That's all you can do right now.
And maybe spare a square to your neighbor.
Spare a square.
Yeah.
What can you do with one square, man?
You know what? When you have nothing,
That's
you'd be
true.
amazed what a square can do.
I don't have a square to spare.
No.
What's that from?
That's Seinfeld. Man.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't know if you got that one or not.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Let's go ahead and do our Patreon shout outs and PayPal shout outs. We had Alexandra Miller.
Hey, Alexandra.
Alex.
What's going on, Alex?
Liam Kirk.
Hey, Liam.
Tyler McGathy.
What's going on, McGathy?
Hicks Myrick.
Hey, Hicks.
Carly Armstrong.
Hey, Carly.
Catherine Hughes.
What's going on, Catherine?
Raul Munoz.
Ooh, Raul.
That's fun to say.
Yeah.
Sarah Hall.
Hey, Sarah.
Jessica Johnson.
What's going on, JJ?
Alexa.
I'm afraid to say that because your machine might come on.
It might.
Yeah. Hey, Alexa.
Courtney Waters.
Hey, Courtney.
We had Siri.
Trying to get my phone to go off.
No, just messing. We did not have someone called Siri. Eleanor Keegan.
Hey, Eleanor.
Carrie Selecki.
Hey, Selaki.
Maggie Schultz.
What's going on, Maggie?
Abby Snyder.
Hey, Abby.
Kate Smolka.
Hey, you smoker.
Alana Harding.
Yeah, you are, Alana.
Nicole Donovan.
Hey, Nicole.
Carew Yu.
Hey, care you.
Jared Carmouche.
Hey, what's going on, Carmouche? Or Carmouche.
We don't know. Emily Viner.
Hey, Emily.
Kurt Johnson.
Hey, Kurt.
And Olivia DeVry.
Hey, Olivia D.
So we appreciate all that brand new Patreon support.
Sure do.
And then we go back into the vault, Gibbs.
Okay.
This week we selected Melissa Collins.
Hey, Melissa. Appreciate that.
Yeah, longtime Patreon supporter. We really appreciate the new support as well as the continued support, especially with everything that's going on.
Man, really do.
We had some PayPal donations from Kate Massey,
Hey, Kate.
Dorothy Ballerini,
Appreciate it, Dorothy.
Julie Shantz,
What's going on, Julie?
and Michelle Slocum.
Hey, you Slocum, you.
So appreciate that as well. Gibbs, we got a lot out right now.
We do.
We have our regular True Crime All the Time,
Yeah.
where we're talking about a wild case.
Oh, man.
That spans really 4 decades.
Yeah.
Gerald and Alice Uden both committed murders in the 70s. I think Gerald was in 1980. They got married and then didn't get caught for like 30, 40 years later.
But the law coming knocking.
They got them, but they were in their 70s.
Yeah.
It's such a strange case with so many twists and turns that I think people will really like it.
I do too.
And we have a brand new Patreon only episode out right now on the Malibu Grand Prix murders that happened back in the early 80s in Houston, Texas.
Yeah, that ruined my whole vision of those days being in that entertainment park, man.
Yeah, Malibu was a place, I think, where you and I both used to hang out because they had one here in our hometown. It was a fun place, an arcade, they had a racetrack, but there was a horrible mass murder committed at the Malibu in Houston, Texas.
Yeah.
And I didn't say it on the episode, but I think they actually had 3 in Houston at one time.
Oh, yeah.
So this happened at one of them. If you're a Patreon member, check that out. If you're not, now's a great time to sign up.
Sure.
That's episode 21.
Man,
for Patreon. That's in addition to the weekly videos that we do. All right, buddy. Are you ready to get into this episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved?
I'm ready.
We've actually bundled 2 different unsolved murders for this episode.
We did.
They both occurred in Cheyenne, Wyoming, which just happens to be where some of the murders on TCAT took place as well.
That's true.
So this week we're kind of in Cheyenne.
Yeah. Wyoming's big on the map for us right now.
So we're talking about the 2003 murder of Shawny Lee Smith and the 2001 murder of Jamie Christopher Kamai. I was a little leery about this last name. And Gibbs, I hate to mess up the last name of a victim. I think that's horrible. The problem is I could not find a video instructing me how to say this last name. So I think it's either Kamai. I saw some pronunciations that where it could be Kamai,
Right.
but I'm going with Kamai, and I'll just apologize to everyone in advance if I get it wrong. I just don't know how to confirm it.
We tried.
So first, we're going to start off talking about the unsolved murder of Shawny Lee Smith. It was on February 8th, 2003, when a rancher was out checking the fence line of his property. This was just south of the town of Cheyenne, Wyoming. But that rancher was actually just 100 yards over the border into Colorado. And this rancher saw a very bloody, nude female body up against his fence. This is just off to the side of Highway 85, also known as the Can-Am Expressway, that had to have been a horrible sight.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Ranchers are going to go out and check their fence lines all the time to make sure the cattle don't get out. But the roll up on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're probably used to seeing some animals that have passed, and
maybe a deer stuck in the fence.
A car ran into the fence. Who knows? I don't think they're ever expecting to see the bloody nude body of a female at all. So it had to have been very distressing. This rancher called the authorities right away. And when authorities got on site, they very quickly realized they had a horrific murder on their hands. The Weld County Sheriff also called in the Laramie County Sheriff, right? This is in Wyoming, but they're neighbors. They're right across the border. I think because the thought was this murder didn't occur here on this ranch. And really, there wasn't much around in this part of Colorado.
No, this is like, at that time, it was a lot of ranch land. And then you go just north just a little bit, 20 miles, and you're going to be in the heart of Cheyenne.
Much bigger.
Oh, yeah.
Much more populated area. So I think it was a calculated guess, I'll put it that way, on the part of the sheriff that the murder most likely occurred across the border.
So let's get him out here so he can be part of it. Yeah.
Might as well. Authorities were eventually able to determine that the victim was 32-year-old Shawny Lee Smith of Cheyenne, Wyoming. So it was a good call, right, on the part of the Weld County Sheriff, because from that point, the Laramie County Sheriff's Office took over the case. An autopsy was done the very next day, but the results were not released for well over a month, Gibbs, after the body was found.
Seems like a really long time to hold out on that.
Yeah, it was Monday, March 17th when they were released. And I think just like what you're saying, the press thought the same thing. Why is it taking so long for the medical examiner's office to release their findings?
Yeah. And even at that point, when they released them, they still were redacted.
So certain information in their report was hidden because investigators wanted to hold some things back. There was some very specific information in the medical examiner's report that investigators did not want out to the public.
And we've talked about that before. You brought it up several times, that that's what they want to have. So if someone does walk in and say, hey, that was me, then they can say, tell me how you did it, or what specific thing did you do that would point to that you did this? Yeah,
I think, you can look at, I'll point to the Netflix show, The Innocent Man. Mm-hmm. Those confessions that they dragged out of those guys, they kept feeding them information. Well, you can still do that this way, but it's not how it's supposed to work. It's supposed to operate in a way that the person is freely giving the information and it is backed up by the information you've held back.
Yeah.
So that they're most likely telling the truth, because how else would they have known what they're telling you? Now, if you feed it to them and they just regurgitate it back to you, it kind of defeats the whole purpose. That's where you get into, either, I don't know, coerced is the right word, but it's that thing where people get so tired.
Yeah.
They would say anything to get out of there.
Sure. Just want to go.
You're telling them to say this, and they're like, okay, I'm going to say that, and we'll figure it out later.
Right.
The problem is you cannot figure it out later because you're going to end up in prison.
Yeah. You got to hope that someday somebody will come along and save your ass and get you out of there.
Because they got a videotape or they have an audio tape where you're saying you did this, this, and this.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it matches up with the facts because in some of those cases, the police kind of spoon-fed them.
Sure. We've done some Unsolved here recently that happened.
Yeah, with wrongful, and that's how you get a wrongful conviction. The report put Shawny's death in the early morning hours on February 8th. The cause of death was not very specific. It basically just said that she had been beaten to death. It also stated that it appeared she had been sexually assaulted. Shawny's face and throat were bruised and cut. Her jaw was broken in 2 places. Shawny's larynx and the bone that supports the tongue had been crushed with brute force.
And that's, man, you have to be really strong to do that.
She had several lacerations, bruises, and abrasions to her face, torso, chest, legs, feet, arms, hands. It sounds like she was brutalized over most of her body.
Yeah.
In some way or another.
They also said that like her hands, her feet, they could tell that she was defending herself, like balling up and using her feet and her knees and hands to keep whoever was doing this to her, trying to get them away.
Yeah, she had a lot of defensive wounds. But there's no doubt this was a very brutal attack. The medical examiner said that they'd never seen a body beaten as severely as Shawny had been beaten in their entire career. And I think it was extremely disturbing to the medical examiner and some of the other law enforcement professionals. The report did say that Shawny had cocaine in her urine, but she didn't have any in her blood, which meant she must have used, at least several days before her death. It did show that she had high levels of alcohol in her blood. So they knew that she was intoxicated the night she died. The investigators, as well as the medical examiner, were able to collect some DNA at the site where her body was found, and they were able to collect some off of her body as well. Now, we couldn't find a lot of information about Shawny Lee Smith. And that's one thing, Gibbs, that you and I try to do when we can, but sometimes it's just not out there.
It's very hard sometimes.
Yeah, some cases you can find everything you want.
Yeah.
About a person's background and where they grew up and what church they attended, what school they went to. Other cases, not so much. And it really just depends on kind of how the reporting goes.
Yeah, I think the location, how the interest in the case.
How many articles are written.
Yeah.
Sure.
And also maybe if the family decides to share all that information or not.
Yeah, how cooperative the family is with the press. If they sit down for interviews, you're going to get a lot more information.
Sure.
But it also goes to, what the reporter's doing. Are they really digging into the background, or are they really sticking more towards the investigation?
And with this one here, we already know the police are holding a lot of facts pretty close, right? I mean, when you have the autopsy come out and it's redacted the way it was, you know that they're going to be that way with a lot of other things down the line.
We do know she was born on December 16th, 1970 in Cheyenne to George and Linda Hatch. She had one sister named Jackie. The family moved to Clarksville, Arkansas in 1986, and Shawny attended Lamar High School. In October 1987, Shawny's dad, George, passed away. Her mother later remarried a man named Craig Dowdy. At some point after high school, Shawny moved back to Laramie County, Wyoming, and she had 2 children. Then in 2000, she and her 6-year-old son, Jared, and her 4-year-old daughter, Darian, moved back to Shawny's hometown of Cheyenne. At that point, Shawny was working as a machinist at a company called Grobet.
Grobet, man.
I never heard of it.
Me neither.
Oh, okay. You said it as though it's some world-renowned company.
No, I don't know. I'm guessing it sounds like it's some kind of agriculture, right?
Yeah, something to do with agriculture. Yeah. I would say when you have the word grow in something,
it's a good sign.
It's a good bet that it has, and actually has the word bed in it too, but there's a good chance that there's agriculture involved. Shawny and her children moved into a mobile home in the West Winds trailer park in 2002. Her memorial services were held on Saturday, February 15th, 2003 in Cheyenne. Family members held another service for Shawny on February 23rd in Clarksville, Arkansas, and her ashes were buried by her father's gravesite, which was located near a creek, probably pretty picturesque.
Yeah, I saw a picture of it, and actually was. I think that's where they all wanted to be buried if anything ever happened to them.
So let's get into the investigation. So we have the Laramie County Sheriff's Office looking into Shawny's death. They looked into her family, her friends, co-workers.
Well, they're going to look into the neighbors too.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is pretty normal, routine stuff. I mean, when you talk about the West Wind trailer park, it was home to about 400 people in what was a pretty small, geographical area. They were packed in, is the sense that I got.
And that's never good when you have that many people squished together.
Well, there are some things, I guess, that can happen when you have a lot of people essentially stacked on top of each other.
Well, I know you don't really like to be around your neighbors.
No, and I don't like to feel like I'm squeezed in either.
Right.
But, this trailer park, Gibbs, there's no way around it. It had a history of people with domestic violence charges. There were stabbings. There were drug deals, assaults, arson. There was even attempted murder charges, on some of the residents. So it was a rough place. Yeah. There's no two ways around it. You can't sugarcoat it.
Not a lot of fun trick-or-treating there.
No, probably not. And again, definitely don't want to put down anybody that lives in a trailer park. No. But when you look at this one, it was well documented.
Yeah.
It was a rough place to live.
It reminds me of the other trailer park that was very scary to me when we researched out in California, when we did the Cantu episode.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot that came out, right? There were a number of people that were doing some bad things in that trailer park.
Yeah,
for sure.
It just seems like the more you research, the more bad you found.
But I think after Shawny's death, folks in this trailer park, they were kind of looking at each other, right? Everybody was worried, do we have a killer living amongst us? Yeah, there's a lot of people in here doing some bad stuff, but now do we have an actual killer?
Right.
And I think residents were also upset because they weren't getting any information from the sheriff's office. The office just was not releasing much at all about Shawny's death. Now, what the sheriff's office did do is they reached out to the public and they were asking for help. They were asking if anyone had found the clothes that Shawny was known to have worn that night. And the items in question were a pair of blue jeans, dark blue thigh-length FUBU brand jacket.
You know what a FUBU brand jacket is?
I know it means for us, by us.
Is that what it means?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
You didn't know that?
I didn't.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for educating me on that.
Well, there you go. White socks and brown Skechers shoes. The police also put it out there that it was very possible that Shawny had her driver's license in the pocket of her jeans that she was wearing. So they just wanted to know, had anybody found any of this stuff? Because obviously there was a good chance there were some clues, some evidence possibly on some of this clothing.
Or even if they could tell them where they found it, that it could say, okay, maybe this occurred here.
Yeah, or around here.
Right.
The investigators questioned quite a few people looking into Shawny's death, but they really didn't get any information. Nothing that, led them on to the next stop. There were no leads in this case. Neighbors said Shawny was pretty quiet. As far as neighbor went, she kept to herself, and I think she was a pretty private person. One neighbor told investigators that he had seen several people go in and out of her trailer during very late hours or early morning hours, however you want to say it,
Right.
in the weeks prior to her death. So she had a number of visitors.
Yeah.
Very late, very early in the morning.
He only knew that because he said his dog would wake him up every time somebody would go in and out of her place. The dog would start barking, which was normally the dog never barked. And here in the last couple weeks, the dog was barking at those times, and he would look out and see the people.
Well, a lot of dogs don't bark at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning because there's not much going on.
No.
Now, when you get in a trailer park, a lot of those trailers are very close together.
Yeah.
So, when you're talking about a dog is able to hear something, they're probably hearing all kinds of things.
Yeah.
But it's the 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning noises of other people that would cause them to bark for sure. Police talked to another individual who said Shawny ran with some tough people, and the individual thought that some of those people that she ran with might have been moving drugs in the area. At the very least, these were individuals that had caused problems in and around the town.
Yeah, I think they were known for that.
Police interviewed some of these people, but again, just nothing came from the interviews. The investigators just couldn't get really anyone to say anything.
Yeah, they were all pretty tight-lipped.
Well, I think investigators had a very tough time getting some of these people that were known to maybe, let's say, be a bad element to talk, to say much of anything. And they couldn't get people associated with them to talk or say anything. And I think you find that a lot, right? You have somebody that's known to be a tough guy or causes problems. Are you going to be the one to tell police that this person does this, or this?
Yeah.
Probably not.
You're going to keep it locked, man. You don't want no trouble for yourself or your family.
You don't want to set yourself up as a target.
Yeah, so they were all very tight-lipped.
So investigators really had a hard time, right? Coming up with any leads. The few that they got, they worked them, but obviously we know this is an unsolved murder. They have yet to develop a lead that has really gone anywhere. And, as time goes on, you get less and less leads. And it's been reported that the sheriff's office haven't really had any good leads in quite a long time. And I think the sheriff Gibbs got to the point where, he started to feel like, okay, we're going to need someone to come forward. This is going to be some type of jailhouse informant who's looking to make a deal
right
to avoid a long prison sentence and is willing to give up information. That's how we're going to solve this murder.
Yeah, I'll give you something if you reduce my time in here.
Yeah. Short of that, I think the sheriff got to the point where there was nothing else they could do. They needed they weren't going to find it. Somebody was going to have to come forward and say, here's what you need.
Right.
But I think one thing that is important to talk about, in the years prior to Shawny's death, Laramie County had experienced quite a few changes. Really up until 1994, they didn't experience a lot of murders at all. But then when you look at the years from 1994 to 2003, okay, they had 18 murders during that time. Is that a lot? It doesn't seem like it when you look at the county where a big city is located.
Right.
To you and I.
Right.
Or to somebody that, lives in Atlanta, they're going to hear the number 18 and think, okay, that's a 9-year period.
Yeah.
You had 2 murders a year.
What are you worried about?
That's not much at all, but to them it was.
Sure. When you don't have that type of stats, it's alarming.
And most of the murders that started to occur seemed to have something to do with the increasing number of young men who were moving drugs through the area. They were using this Highway 85, this Can-Am Expressway, to get drugs across the northern borders. And really, it was thought to have started about this 1994 timeframe. And in that 9-year stretch that we mentioned, right, 94 to 2003, we said there was 18 murders. 14 of those were tied directly to some type of drug trafficking. So Gibbs, although the numbers sound somewhat small, I think for most people, depending on where you live in the United States, to them, it was a very big increase.
Yeah.
Noticeable. So these 14 murders, Gibbs, they were mostly young men who had either been stabbed or shot, but definitely thought to have been related to drugs. Shawny was the only female of the 18 murders that happened during this 9-year period. There was some thought by the sheriff's office that she could be the 15th victim tied to some type of drug trafficking. We mentioned it. She ran with some pretty rough people.
Yeah.
And some people that were known to have something to do with drugs. But we just don't know. I mean, we know she wasn't killed with a knife or a gun like most of the others were. And I guess the reason why we're talking about the number of murders, right? So 18 in total. There were 3 other murders besides the 14 and Shawny. 2 toddlers were beaten to death during that time period. Horrible.
Yeah.
And then there was the murder of Jamie Kamai. Jamie Christopher Kamai was born January 14th, 1976 in Cheyenne to his parents, John Sr. and Anita Kamai. He had a brother, John Jr., and 2 sisters, Lisa and Amber, and they lived in Cheyenne most of their life. At a certain point, Jamie moved to Denver with his dad and his brother. Then later, he moved to Fort Collins, Colorado to be near his sister Lisa before returning to Cheyenne in 2000. Jamie was a loving son and brother. And Gibbs, everybody said that he was just a really great guy.
Yeah, one of those good guys out there.
After returning to Cheyenne, Jamie and his girlfriend, Angel Mondragon, they had a daughter named Deja. And Angel had a son named Darius. Jamie was working for Greer Furniture and had been since he returned in 2000. He worked as a driver. On Thursday morning, June 21st, 2001, just after 8 a.m., Jamie loaded up his Chevy Celebrity with 7-year-old Darius and his daughter, 11-month-old Deja, to drop them off with the local babysitter. And then he would head off to work. He headed out onto South Greeley Highway. And it was then that the driver of a pickup truck got on his tail and pretty much stayed on it, Gibbs. And it didn't matter what Jamie did. He could not shake this driver. This went on for a number of miles. Jamie turned on East College Drive and the driver followed him and continued tailing him. He was right up on him.
I know how you hate that.
I do, but I have done it to a number of people.
Yeah.
that make me mad. I shouldn't. I know I shouldn't.
Yeah. You are one of those drivers that could scare somebody.
Yeah. Now, 7-year-old Darius would later say that Jamie was not happy with this driver behind him. At 8:11 a.m., Jamie stopped his car right in the middle of the road. This truck was still on his tail, and he got out of his car. And there were some witnesses driving by that saw this, and they said Jamie approached the pickup truck. They said Jamie was pretty aggressive with his hand movements, right? Gesturing. They could easily tell that he was agitated. He was upset, and who wouldn't be, right? Being tailed. You've got 2 young kids in the car. It's a very dangerous situation. One wrong move and you're in that pit maneuver like police do,
right? And
you're skidding off the road.
Yeah. I mean, I can see why you'd be upset. I don't know if I'd stop in the middle of the road, but I absolutely can see if you do, you're going to jump out. I know you.
I know. I would probably do the same thing. And again, I'm saying it as though I know I would do it. I'm not saying it's right.
No.
But I know how I am. I would be so upset that I'm going to put a stop to this somehow.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let this person be on my bumper and endanger not only my life, but my kid's life. I'm just not going to let it happen.
I've tried to shake you off my ass for so many miles now, and you're still following me when I turn.
Yeah, something's going on.
You want to say something to me? Let's do this.
Yeah, we're going to figure it out right now. As Jamie got close to the pickup truck, the male driver fired a shot, and the shot hit Jamie in the hand. Jamie turned around, went back to his vehicle, and he tried to start up the car. I think at that point, he said, okay, I was going to talk to this guy, but there's no talking.
Yeah.
Shots fired. I'm getting the hell out of here.
I got to get these kids out of here.
You got to get these kids to safety. But this driver of the pickup truck, he just wouldn't let it go. He got out of his truck and he pursued Jamie on foot and shot Jamie in the back before he could get away. Darius was scared and he jumped out of the vehicle and he threw his hands up in fear. Maybe most likely something he had seen on television, right? Yeah. Maybe he thought it was a police officer. I don't know.
Put your hands up and maybe they won't shoot you.
And maybe I'll be okay. The man looked at Darius and then went back to his truck and sped away, leaving Jamie slumped over his steering wheel. Darius ran over to a nearby construction site, and one of the crew members ran over to Jamie's car to try to help him. He called 911. Jamie was taken to United Medical Center, but he died shortly after arrival as a result of the injuries sustained. He had been shot multiple times. And Gibbs, I think this is exactly the danger of road rage. And it's why I've got to try to curb mine a little bit.
Yeah.
And I have. Don't get me wrong. I've mellowed over the years somewhat. But I think you just don't know. You don't know what anyone's intentions are, right? You think you're getting out of your car to find out what somebody's problem is. Well, they could be high on meth. They could have had the worst day in the world, and they're looking to take it out on somebody. And before you get a word out, you're dead. They've shot you.
You hear these stories on the news about how something goes really bad really quick.
It doesn't matter how big and bad you are or how big and bad you think you are.
Yeah.
You're not bigger and badder than a bullet. You're just not. You can't whip a bullet. If somebody pulls out a gun and they fire shots and they hit you in the right place, you're gone.
It's done. Yeah. And I know we've done some cases in the past, and it's been a while, where earlier in the day they had road rage, and it came back to bite them later that night. I can't remember the case, but I know that happened, and the mom watched the kid get shot down right in the yard.
Yep. Well, I'm making a promise right now. I'm going to continue to work on mine.
Yeah.
And I got to keep my own time ticking.
Yeah, that's right. Just let them go.
So police began to investigate, but no one really knew what happened besides the few drivers that had seen Jamie get out and walk back to the truck. Some saw him, run back to his car. No one driving by actually saw this guy fire the shots. There were some people at the nearby construction site. They heard the gunshots, but I think at first, Gibbs, they thought they were coming from a nearby fireworks store. They were setting off some fireworks, or they just thought it was the construction equipment. I mean, stuff's pretty loud.
Oh yeah.
On a site like that. They didn't take them necessarily as someone shooting a gun, but police were able to get some information from a few witnesses. One witness was able to provide details of the man in the truck to a sketch artist. He had passed by the truck and, he remembered what this guy looked like. Another witness said the pickup truck was red and had a white top over the truck bed. So like a camper.
Yeah.
I'm assuming. Truck camper. Police got another lead about 3 days after the murder, when a woman told them that she went to see her tattoo artist that morning. When she got there, she found the store was closed, but she had an appointment and she had no idea why the store was closed. So she went up the street to another tattoo shop and she asked them if they knew anything about what was going on at the tattoo shop that she normally went to.
I think she was worried that they might have had some health violations and she was concerned because she's had tattoo work there before.
That would be scary.
Yeah.
The owner of the other tattoo shop said, no, doesn't have anything to do with health code violations. The guy closed his shop because he was the one who shot that kid the other day. Well, and of course, this is going to get back to the sheriff and investigators. And they did look into this guy. They questioned him. He became a person of interest. But eventually, they figured out that he had a solid alibi. So they had to go in another direction.
I guess he just was running his mouth a little bit.
Yeah, maybe he was trying to give the other tattoo shop a bad name. Who knows?
Yeah.
Jamie was buried at a local cemetery. And obviously a very sad day for his loved ones. They're mourning the loss of their son, their brother, their boyfriend, their daughter's dad. I mean, this is a guy that I think was loved by a lot of people.
Yeah. A young guy, 25 years old?
Yeah. Had his whole life ahead of him.
Yeah.
And I think at the same time, they're mourning his death and they're thinking, all right, how are we going to bring to justice, or how's the sheriff going to bring to justice the person, the man that took our loved one away?
Yeah. We want answers.
But Gibbs, to this day, sheriff investigators are still trying to figure out why this man, this killer, murdered Jamie. Was this simply an act of road rage that went too far, or was it something more sinister? Was there planning behind it? Did the driver plan to shoot Jamie after he dropped the kids off? Did he know his schedule?
Yeah.
Did he purposefully try to aggravate him by tailing him so that he would come out of his car and he would be able to shoot him that way?
Be an easy target at that point.
Because I think about it, he shot very quickly, right? As Jamie was walking towards the car, he took a shot.
Right.
Now, it wasn't a great shot because he hit him in the hand, but was he trying to kill him? I think he obviously was, because if not, he would have drove away.
Yeah.
Thinking, oh my God, what did I just do? I fired a shot and I hit this guy.
And I didn't kill him, but I'm okay.
I'm getting the hell out of here.
Okay, I'm going to get out of here. Thing's done.
That wasn't the case.
No.
The fact that he got out of his truck and finished Jamie off.
Right.
That tells you something.
Yeah.
He was hell-bent on murdering this man. Now, it still could be road rage, but it also could be something much more.
Yeah.
We just don't know.
Yeah. To get out of your car and go up to the other car and do that.
He didn't have to.
Didn't have to.
Because Jamie was retreating.
Right.
There was no danger.
No.
He wanted to. He wanted to get out of his car, or he felt like he needed to for some reason.
Yeah.
But when you look at the angle of someone wanting to murder Jamie, you have to ask the question, why? We talked about it. Everyone loved this guy. Everyone described him as a good guy who would help out anyone, friends, family. He loved his girlfriend. He loved his daughter. He loved Darius. I mean, Darius had really taken to Jamie and, was at a point where he wanted to start calling Jamie his dad. This was just a few weeks before Jamie's murder. That's a big step.
That's huge. Yeah.
That's not coming from a kid who does not like you.
No.
Or has a problem with you. This kid loved him.
Yeah.
Jamie had also asked Angel to marry him, and she said yes. This was just a week before he was murdered. So again, you have a very happy guy, a lot of great things going on in his life. There was no reason that any of his friends or family could think of that someone would want to kill him.
Yeah. He wasn't into drugs.
Nope.
Wasn't a heavy drinker.
Sure.
And he used marijuana, occasionally, as a lot of
25-year-olds do. Yeah. The one thing that did pop up at me, Gibbs, is did Angel have a past boyfriend who maybe found out that she was about ready to get married or had accepted Jamie's invitation.
Yeah, could have been
for marriage, and he got mad. Couldn't find anything about it in the research. So we can really only, speculate.
Because jealousy can make people do some crazy stuff.
But you and I talk about it. What is it? Love. And I would put jealousy kind of in that category, right? Love and jealousy. Money, which you can also put jealousy in that category as well.
Right.
But love, money, revenge, jealousy. I mean, those are the type of things that cause people to, want to kill other people. It's a thought, but we really have no information to back it up. The police did learn that the night before Jamie was murdered, he let a friend use his car to run some errands. So then the question comes up, okay, did this friend do something while driving Jamie's car? Did something happen to tick this killer off?
Yeah.
Like he had a run-in, let's say. Maybe they had a road rage incident and this guy followed or learned, who the driver was or saw him again at another point in time on the day Jamie was murdered and decided to take revenge.
Sure.
We don't know.
This is my payback to what you did to me the night before.
The police did question Jamie's friend that had driven his car, but he couldn't give them any information as it would have related to anything like that had happened. Gibbs, there have been some theories that have floated around that this was maybe some type of hit, maybe a gang initiation type of thing. Like you have to do this to get into the gang.
Yeah.
But I don't know about that. I mean, I think the biggest theory that seems to come back around time and time again is road rage. I mean, did this guy literally just not like something that Jamie did while he was driving, whether he cut him off, he changed lanes without signaling and almost hit him, or
it allowed it to escalate to the point where he just had to...
He lost control.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can play the what if game, and a lot of times we do in these unsolved cases, but a lot of times, at least as it relates to this case, it does seem to come back to road rage being the most likely cause of this happening, but police don't solve it. We know that, and the case went cold. And I think over the years, Jamie's family have felt like, okay, authorities really aren't doing everything they can do to solve this case.
Yeah, I think they got a little upset about it.
Yeah, a little testy. Jamie's cousin told the press, quote, "To me, it's like he got shot. He doesn't have a big name, and we're not people who have a lot of money. It seems like they're not doing all they can."
Right.
Gibbs, I have to imagine that a lot of families feel like that as an unsolved murder drags on. How could you not?
Yeah. And
whether it's the police's fault or not, at some point you're going to think, man, they're not doing it. They're not solving it.
If you don't have the resources to hire your own private investigator, right, to pick up the case, keep it going, as it sits there getting cold on the shelf, as some would say.
Which can be very expensive.
Yeah. I mean,
most people don't have the resources to have a private investigator work on something for any length of time.
I mean, you're probably talking $30,000, $40,000 easy, and that could go up from there for a long period of time.
Currently, a new detective is working both Shawny's and Jamie's cases. And I think the detective is going back to square one. And I think that's important when somebody takes on, whether it's a new project or a case or whatever, you got to go back because you got to make sure that everything was done correctly the first time around. Was everybody talked to?
Yeah.
Was there a notation about something and then you find out, well, that person was never talked to?
Why didn't we follow up on this?
Yeah.
Anything missed?
And I think that's very important. Sure. Now, do you end up covering a lot of the same ground that other investigators did? Sure. But what else can you do? You're not getting any new leads. So you got to go back and look to make sure something wasn't missed.
Just using those fresh eyes on that,
Yeah. I think that's sometimes very important just to get a fresh set of eyes on it.
And sometimes your perception of something will be different than somebody else's.
A lot of times.
Yeah.
I know my perception about things is much different than yours.
Oh, yeah.
Grammar.
All right.
Movies.
Gotcha.
No, just messing with you. But, the detective has taken what I thought was kind of an interesting tact. They posted flyers in the local jails, in prisons, about these unsolved cases, trying to drum up leads from people in prison. Now, you're probably going to get a bunch of people saying, hey, I know what happened.
Yeah.
And if you get my sentence reduced, I'll tell you.
You do something for me, I do something for you.
But it's worth a shot, man. You might get the right person that knows exactly what happened. And it actually did happen. Right? There was someone incarcerated who, after seeing one of these flyers, bragged that it was him. He was the person that had shot Jamie.
To the point he said that was the second person named Jamie that he's killed in his lifetime. So
he's just offering up all kinds of information. Yeah. So I do think they're looking into this person. I don't have any additional information on it at this point. It seems like there might be a couple of other persons of interest that have developed from new leads that have come in. And in addition to those leads, this new detective is working with a lab to enhance an old security camera tape from the morning that Jamie was killed to see if that will give them some additional information.
Yeah, I mean, technology we know is a whole lot better than it was back then. So,
but that's it. That's it for the cases of Shawny Lee Smith and Jamie Kamai. If you have any information on these two cases, please contact the Laramie County Sheriff's Department at 307-633-4700. All right, Gibbs, we have some voicemails.
Yeah, let's hear them.
Let's check those out.
Hi, Mike and Gibby. This is Andrea from Oswego, Illinois. I listen to your podcast and get excited when it gets posted every week. My sister Samantha in Phoenix also listens to it. And I also follow Gibby on Instagram. And I just wondered if you guys were going to look into the case of Janine Nicarico from Illinois. And there's lots of twists and turns of wrongful conviction and things like that. But just keep it up. You guys are awesome. Your podcast is great. And keep your own times ticking. Thank you.
She sounds very upbeat.
Yeah.
And that has re-energized me.
Maybe.
I need that.
It's from my motivational quotes.
That you post on Instagram?
Yeah.
The ones that my daughter sees and she's like, what in the hell is Gibby doing? What's he posting?
Maybe.
What's he talking about?
Maybe. That might be it, man.
So I don't know if that is on our list or not, but if it's not, we're definitely going to look at it because we've done some of these wrongful conviction cases on Unsolved. I think they make for good episodes because you really can get a lot of information because you have court.
Like those appeal docs.
Yeah, you have appeal docs and you have some courtroom activity, which you don't have in unsolved cases where nobody's gone to trial.
Right.
Hey, Fergie and Gibby, this is Brian from Cheyenne, Canada. I am a diehard fan of true crime and have just finally caught up with both of the podcasts. Really enjoy the detailed timeline, the community guidelines, and both of you going at it each other often. I do have a suggestion for an unsolved case. It's the case of John Convery, who mysteriously died here in Toronto in 2001. Even though there are conflicting reports and the police have ruled it a suicide, there are many intriguing aspects of the case. And even CBC has done a few segments on it through Sister States. Anyways, I'm happy to be part of the fan club and keep your own time taking.
All right. Thank you. I mean, that's another great suggestion.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of that case, so I can almost guarantee it's not on the list, but we'll add it.
And I always want to say, if you want to email the case suggestion, just send it to truecrimegibby@gmail.com.
Yep.
If it's unsolved. And if it's not, send it to me as well. I can always push it over to Mike.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, you can email that. You can email truecrimeallthetime@gmail.com. We get a lot of suggestions, and it's great to have them in email form because then we don't have to write them down.
Exactly.
You can just star them.
And they're in the system.
Yeah, and set them out for a later date.
Yeah.
Hi, Mike and Gibby. This is Olivia from Indianapolis. I'm just calling to tell you guys I hope you're staying safe and healthy during this coronavirus outbreak. I've been thinking about you guys a lot and praying for you guys. And like I said, I hope you and your families and the people you care about stay safe and healthy. Team both of you, of course, and please keep your own time ticking. Bye-bye.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I mean, right back at you.
Yeah.
To everyone, right? Gibby and I are trying very hard to stay safe because, for me, like right now, my voice is straining.
Sure.
Because we've been taping for quite a bit tonight.
So is mine.
Yeah. But this is my livelihood. I mean, this is my full-time job.
It is.
And if I go down, I don't know what I'm going to do, man. I have to stay safe.
This is what you do for your career.
It is.
Hi, this is Mackenzie from Pittsburgh. I was just listening to the voicemail where you guys are making fun of us say the word nebby. It actually means that you're nosy. So, yeah, I thought it was kind of funny that you guys didn't know that. Another thing is I just caught up on this podcast, and I tried to go over to the Unsolved podcast, and I'm missing like 130 episodes on Stitcher. So if you could tell me how to find them, that would be great.
All right. So that's a two-parter.
Yeah.
I'll take the second part first, Alex.
Well, this is when you need to be nebby and you get your answer.
So all of our Unsolved episodes older than 6 months, they're on Stitcher Premium. And Stitcher Premium's great. They have a 30-day free trial. There's nothing to lose. And as far as nebby goes, it was actually somebody from Pittsburgh that sent us a voicemail telling us what nebby meant.
Yeah.
We just used it in a trying to be funny way, but we knew what it meant because somebody actually sent us a voicemail on a previous episode.
And because after that voicemail at my work with my Pittsburgh counterparts, someone actually used it a few times.
Did they really?
Yeah. I'm like, it's so weird.
And they probably have before, and you never even thought about it.
Never even clued into it
because you weren't listening and it didn't register. But
I don't know about it. Yeah, maybe.
All right, buddy, we got to get out of here. We love y'all. That is it for another episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved. So for Mike
and Gibby,
stay safe and keep your own time ticking.